Yo, parish orphans and retrogrades, happy 4th of July Sunday the 6th. It's not really the 4th, but it's the Sunday of your 4th of July, and I'm back from 2 weeks of vacation. Unbelievable, beautiful vacation. Thank you to Cheryl, who's a big supporter out there. Cheryl, you're number one. Thank you for helping us to go. We got a little bug on the vacation, and it became an amazing sort of teamwork experience, one of our greatest vacations ever. It did go by Disney World, had to extend the vacation to use the last day or two of the Disney vacay, and we just helped each other out. The kids got a stomach bug, or half of them did. Kind of a worst case scenario in summer, but man, that was arguably my favorite vacation ever, and I just feel refreshed. We ended up being gone 2 weeks. We're meant to be gone a little longer than one. Back today to discuss the raging topic, which I kind of watched semi-passively in line rides at Disney World. I was semi-passively because I would weigh in. Does Islam worship the one true God? And this thing is stupid. It's hard to sit idly by because the question is now raging everywhere on Twitter. If I hit my home button on Twitter, and that just means I look at what everyone else that I follow on the timeline is saying, they're all talking about it from 3.5 weeks ago, my debate with Tim Pool, with Jay Dyer, and some Protestant guy, but it was really Jay Dyer and Tim Gordon. And it set a lot of jaws, a lot of teeth to chattering. And it's really important. Do Muslims worship the one true God? It's stupid how Catholics and Orthodox have largely weighed in on this. And again, it's me and Jay at the bottom of the dog pile. Now, of course, we're debating it. But, we have outsized influence here on rules for retrogrades. And I'm going to be talking about that outsized influence, bigger footprint than foot, if that makes sense. That's a mark of this show that you'll recognize as true, because I go on Tim Pool and everyone's talking about the debate. I also in Florida, I kind of split up Orlando, then went down to Boca, then back up to Orlando once we were feeling better. But in Boca, I did 3 episodes of Catholicism and Patriarchy on Elijah Schaefer's channel. And that's a really good one. We're going to upload those shows onto the channel, right, Steffi?
Oh, they're going to let us?
Yep. They were asking us to.
Oh, cool.
Great episodes. You can watch them on my channel. I'm going to put those up. But here's the thing. Our influence, my influence is outsized because it's bigger than the subscriber count. The name is greater than the Twitter follower amount. And it's something that I like. I've learned to live with. And you're going to see that behind all these Catholic debates is either a debate I was a part of as the Catholic or a book I've written. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this because I am, as one man once quipped, a dad with a webcam, actually a dad of a special needs kid and 6 younger siblings with a webcam. And a few big announcements here today as I'm back. But I'm kind of doing them part and parcel of, I want to weigh in on this, does Islam worship the one true God question, because it's me underneath all that. You clear the rubble, and it's me and Jay. The first big announcement is we are going to go do a formal debate in person on Elijah Schaefer's channel at the end of August. So it'll be Jay and I. There will be no Protestant mucking things up. Jay and I are friends. Orthodox and Catholic, contrary to what Orthodox say, we are friends because they are just Catholics without the Pope. They are just sort of the first sedes. They enlarge upon the theological disparities between EO and RC in order to not seem like just the world's first sedes, a millennium in. But that's really all they are. So tell them that. I mean, we really look on them as Catholics. That's why we respect their bishops and all that. They enlarge upon the differences. They don't want to sit by us, but we're like, 1,000 years later, we're not totally cool with you guys, but we do acknowledge how Catholic you are. Bishops and sacraments and all the rest. So Jay and I are going to finish this up. We're going to finish up the debate properly. There won't be interrupting. It will be formal. It will be the last week of August, maybe the second to last day of the third week of August. It's going to be in the 20s, August 22nd, or we were going to do the 28th, but it got rescheduled. And it's going to be on Elijah Schaffer. And you should see my Catholicism episode on Elijah Schaffer. I would just say this to explain. That's the first big announcement. Big formal debate on this. That'll just be a part of it. The Islam, one true God question. I'm going to weigh in on it again today and just say this is a stupid tempest in a teapot issue. When you're not like a liberal that wants to say everyone gets to heaven. I don't think the other religions by and large get to heaven. We'll talk about that some. But it's a stupid tempest in a teapot, and people want to weigh in one line. Like, have you stopped beating your wife yet? Well, okay, give me 2 lines. I'm pretty succinct. People see me own in debates. People see me cook. You guys know what I can do. But that's the first big announcement, is doing the formal debate with Jay on this issue, because everyone's weighing in. Cameron Bertuzzi had a couple other Catholics that look like they did a pretty good job, but it was weird because Catholics in both the conservative sort of secular Catholic space and the Catholic space are always ripping ideas. You watched, good. I mean, these are all good people that I like, but guys like Matt Fred, a good Catholic man, get 18 months to 24 months of content on the feminism within Catholicism issue alone. And everyone's talking about it now. Everyone's been talking about it for 2 years. It's all downstream of Steph's book, Ask Your Husband, our newest book, Leave and Cleave. And of course, the one that started it all was The Case for Patriarchy. I don't have one in front of me. I'm going to talk about that. That's the third big announcement today. But first, I want to get to the second. Just saying, everyone's talking about this, and sometimes they'll mention my name. Sometimes they won't. I do know now how Nick Fuentes used to feel when they would talk about him in reference to geopolitics, but they wouldn't mention his name. That's what's happened to me. And the second big announcement is this. You never hear me talk about what makes this channel go. You hear about me talk about ideas because I'm a philosopher and I've had a lot of ideas. I've written 5 books, 3 as a co-author, 2 as an author. I would say the 2 books that I've singly authored, Case for Patriarchy and Catholic Republic, are now, Catholic Republic especially, is coming back into the limelight. People are talking about it. Fuentes is saying things that are absolutely adjacent to Catholic Republic. I'm not saying he's ripping it off. He's always saying, America's Catholic. It needs to be Catholic. Don't say it's not Catholic. It's always been Catholic. And I caught flack for this. I published this book in 2017. Families must be patriarchal or die. That's the Case for Patriarchy. America must be Catholic, because it really is ideologically, or die. Those 2 books are the 2 books associated with this channel, and they go together. I could teach one big course on those 2 things. And I would just go through the chapters of Catholic Republic, and I would say, chapter 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Chapter 5, you expand out. What's the household economy? It must be a male household. That's what patriarchy means, is power to fathers. Well, you don't hear me say what, besides the ideas, make this channel go, because I'm not, I don't know how to say it nicely, a pimp. Other people say a grifter. You'll hear me mention really quick locals. A quick word. Because I'm not a pimp, I got kicked off of a very thriving Patreon channel about 3 years ago. And I'm feeling the pinch a bit now. I said, nah. They said, take these 1 or 2 videos down because you violated our pro LMNOPQ policy. So you have to take the videos down. And I said, no, here's the middle finger. This isn't really it, because it's a family show. But
it was even more bold than that. They're like, take these 2 videos down within like 2 days, or we're going to suspend your account. And you were just like, I'm not going to do that.
No, God will provide. And that's my general attitude. But I never reply. And then I got a locals page, which it's not quite as user friendly for you guys or for me. I got a locals page. It's rulesforretrogrades.locals.com. I'm just a dad of a special needs kid and 6 little siblings with a webcam, but one who's very trained in all these issues that history seems to be selecting. The time is ripe, as Hegel said, for these issues to come up. Families must be patriarchal or die. America must be Catholic or die. And some other issues, too, related to constitutional law that I'm in this weird, unique position to talk about. Even, Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health and constitutional studies. I'm like, wow, I'm in this unique position where no one else understands all the issues at once. And I got my Patreon removed 3 years ago, and I said, no big deal. And I barely talked about it. And once I got on locals, I never replaced the amount of Patreon. I would ask you all, you have to understand, please go to my locals page, rulesforretrogrades.locals.com, and become a locals supporter. I am going to start camping out there. I've had the locals page for a while, haven't done enough stuff with it. The modality has changed. People don't really give away free stuff anymore. It's all about interaction. I haven't done that enough over the last 3 years. And I never replaced all the Patreon supporters. But the show's not possible without support on locals. I'm a dad with a webcam, a dad of a special needs kid with a webcam. And what I do is unique. And you've seen me in January. The Blaze did a write-up on me of this year. This year alone, Blaze was like, we want to feature you as the conservative who is pushing patriarchy. In March, on my birthday, Wall Street Journal did one. Hey, there's this, the Catholic right wing is led by this guy, Tim Gordon, who does patriarchy. Vanity Fair covered me twice in 2 articles before and after this spring. They're just mentioning me as this leader of the Catholic right. In May, the night before the conclave began, CNN said, this is the voice of the American Catholic right wing. They probably, I don't know. Did they know it was going to be an American Pope, Prevost, Cardinal Leo XIV? I don't know. But they wanted to feature an American Catholic guy, and it was all about me. It was a big spot. May, CNN. We're talking Wall Street Journal, CNN, The Blaze, which is a secular Catholic outfit, had been in January. In June, I go on Tim Pool and have this big debate with Jay Dyer. People are still talking about it, and we're going to finish that debate up formally in late August. And then in early July, I went on Elisha Schaefer's show, and he said, tell me all about Catholicism. And Sarah Stock was there asking me questions. She's a recent convert. But the point, I'm not trying to brag. I'm trying to say that we need your help. And I don't make this appeal very often because I don't like to be pimpy. We're going to get to Islam in a second. But I literally am, as Taylor Marshall has said it, quipped it well, a dad with a webcam. If you guys are like, there's not been this much interaction on locals, I'm gonna chill out, I'm gonna peace out, then this unique voice here of this channel, featured by Wall Street Journal, CNN, The Blaze, Daily Wire, Tim Pool, Elijah Schaefer. We had high hopes for where the movie was going to land, still do. That voice, and like all the voices you support on locals or Subscribestar, has to go away. And I literally have this unique situation, this unique background, constitutional law, JD degree, all the way done with PhD coursework, working my way through slowly, studied in Rome, all this stuff. I can talk about Aristotelism, the Constitution, everything that's gone on, and my 2 single-authored books have started all these conversations. Please support me on locals. I am going to be camping out there 10 times more, 50 times more than I ever have, interacting there. I'm already just doing posts there. I've always sort of neglected it, was slow to get to it. I'm going to be there 10 to 50 times more. Already, I've just been doing posts since I got back. If you want to interact with me, go there. Now, we're doing a summer book club that begins a week from tomorrow on the case for patriarchy, because that book has proven so, in such an outsized way, influential. Go to timothyjgordon.com. It's cheap, six chapter book club. We're going to do it in 6 weeks, and it's like $10 per chapter.
And you don't need the book.
You don't need the book. You can join the book club and just basically listen to the discussion and lecture on it for $60. Also, I've been contacted since Tim Pool by a select clientele of, hey, do you do private tutoring? We didn't know you're such an expert in Catholic metaphysics, the hardest of all subjects, harder than theology, Catholic metaphysics. So in both the perennial philosophy and theology, private tutoring, if you're interested in that, that's a select clientele, then email Timothy J. Gordon at timothyjgordon.com. If you want private tutoring, I can literally make sure you know Catholic philosophy and theology. This motor revs all the way up. And I can't do regular shows on that. But if you want to learn Catholic philosophy, theology, one-on-one on like a weekly basis, contact me privately about that. It's very well-known people contact me. I'm starting to do that, and I have room. So contact me soon. But we need to kind of know what we're looking at. We need your support on locals. And summer book club, Case for Patriarchy, that's exciting. Private tutoring. But really, if you want to support the show, the way to do it is to go to locals, and that's how you're going to interact with me. I'm going to be on there 25 times more than I have been. More interaction. Please go to rulesforretrogrades.locals.com. Big debate coming in person with Jay Dyer. No pesky Protestant to get in the way. There will be no interrupting. It'll be a formal setting. Elijah's going to moderate it. It's going to be amazing. That'll be the last week of August in person there in Boca Raton. It's going to be amazing. And Jay and I are friends. So it works. I'm going to go on his channel pretty soon. It works the way we do it.
It's kind of funny because like the Twitter kind of erupted over this issue.
Huge.
This Islam worshiping the one true God. And you have the Orthodox and the Catholics just bickering bitterly on Twitter. And yet you and Jay behind the scenes are like having this very civil, gentlemanly discourse on text and on voicemail. So it's just kind of funny. So we remind everybody, like we're all buddies here.
Well, Jay, I just like. Even when he used to mock me, I just like the Wilsons, Andrew and Rachel. We've always just liked them. They're some people are just very likable. It helps that Rachel is like the true anti-feminist woman besides Steph. There aren't really a lot of true married Catholic anti-feminist women, but Rachel's like the true Eastern Orthodox one. I made friends with her husband. So we just like, and good relations with the Wookiee, with the Orthobros I have. Not so much with Protestants, but I like them. They're against the feminism. So yeah, it's very civil, and these are just people whose content I like and I respect. I don't mean they're even Orthodox content. I mean, Andrew Wilson, we've done doubles debates before on other people's channel. I think on Pearl's channel. With me and Jay, me and Andrew were on the same side. There's a lot in common with the Orthodox, even if they expand upon the differences. And so I have good relations with them. Me and Jay can go have a debate, a more formal one, and enjoy. Now, there's still, it was weird being in line rides for like Splash Mountain or whatever it's called, Tiana's fried chicken cookout or whatever the new Splash Mountain ride is. Very good, by the way.
But strangely, we wanted to hate that so much. I wanted to hate it. We came prepared to make fun of it the entire time. But
so good.
Because its like theme is kind of like in our region, like Mississippi, Louisiana, and who doesn't love like fireflies and willow trees and rivers and things like that? So we didn't get to make fun of it as much as we wanted to because we're trying to be honest.
Because we loved it. But I'm in the line for that ride, and I'm looking at this stupid debate rage online about whether or not Muslims and Christians worship the one true God. And here's the stupid thing. People won't let you have more than a line. Let me read from Pius X's Catechism. And I will say that the Catholic teaching on this has been one and the same since at least 1076. 1076 is when this was clarified by Pope Gregory VII. So the Pius X Catechism says it really nicely. Let me just read from the Twitter page I have on it.
Before you begin, can you just like spell out, because I know a lot of people who are watching your channel aren't necessarily on Twitter. Can you just tell everybody what the controversy was over? Like what's making people really upset about this particular issue?
So my friend Jay Dyer, Orthodox guy I was debating, plus some Protestant, not relevant Protestant, brought it up when we were on Tim Pool, and he kind of knew what he was doing, and it's a crafty rhetorical move, because Muslims are infidels. And so he said, there are these lines, particularly in Nostra Aetate, one of the Vatican documents, also in Lumen Gentium, about other faiths. They're infidels. They do not worship the Messiah. Mm-hmm. That other camera angle always throws me way off. But they worship the one true God. And everyone freaks out. And even a lot of trad Catholics will take Jay's side in this. And that's really a weird thing to have happen, because otherwise people were like, wow, you did a really good job on Tim Pool. You really expressed our views ably. You don't look like a nerdlinger up there. And everyone knows that you and Jay are this odd couple of friends, which is just true. He's a guy with integrity. I'm integrity. I don't really care at the end of the day. Like, I wish he was Catholic. He wishes I was Orthodox, but we're just friends. So it's a cool look, and it's people like to like an odd couple. And yeah, he called me whatever, the Breakfast Club guy. I forget his name, Judd Nelson, when we were on the show, but I don't care about that. So Jay was trying to stick it to me, but what he was really doing is saying that Vatican II's documents changed the teaching, and therefore Catholic teaching has changed, Catholic dogma has changed, and that was really the critique. Not that Catholic natural theology for 1,000 years has always taught the view I'm going to articulate about Islam, which is the truth. It's always taught that, and it's based on something called natural theology. That wouldn't be so damning or so grabby. Since Gregory VII, in 1076, taught what we believe about Muslims. They're infidels, they don't believe in the Messiah, but they do believe in one true God. Okay, that's not, so that's like a line and a half instead of the line that midwits and nitwits on Twitter will let you have. Does anyone disagree with that? Because you're disagreeing with Pope Gregory VII, who wrote this very, very, very clearly in a letter to Al-Anzir. Nam omnipotens Deus, qui omnes homines vult salvos facere, and neminem perire, nihil est quod in nobis magis approbit, quam ut homo post delectionem suam hominem delegat, et quod, sorry, I'm changing pages. And then it goes on. So you got the, and so on, key line in there. He says they worship the true God, but they're still infidels. They worship the true God, or they worship the one God, and yet they're infidels. Well, how can this be? Because they miss some of his key features, but they do still worship him. That's Pope Gregory VII. That's all I'm saying. They're infidels. They don't worship the Messiah. They don't acknowledge God's triune nature, but they do worship, unlike others, they worship one true God. Here's St. Robert Bellarmine in the 1500s. Jeremiah foretold the future, that in the time of the New Testament, all men will know the one God, which certainly now we see fulfilled. For the Gentiles have been converted to the faith, and also the Jews and Turks or Muslims, although they are impious, still worship the one God. His contemporary, Suarez, another based Jesuit at the time, wrote this in a work on 3 theological virtues. Are the rights of unbelievers to be tolerated in Christian kingdoms? Finally, there remains for... Sorry, where did that go? He uses the exact same expression, except Suarez says one true God. It's in the next line, and I'm not seeing it here.
By the way, before you forget, because you were going to mention this at the beginning, you're going to talk about some of the stuff, the little bit more spicy takes on locals after this.
Oh, yeah, that was the big announcement. That was the big announcement, is that on locals now, every single show, 3 times a week, I'm going to give you the behind the scenes and maybe a little bit spicier. You know, I'm going to end the show. I'm going to keep going for 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 minutes, depending on the topic.
Because
we're going to continue with locals. I am being harmed by YouTube.
They took down one of your videos the other day when we were on vacation, by the way.
Did they?
Yeah, one of the democracy shorts.
Really?
Yeah.
So it was it was 2 conversations with Elijah Schaefer and with Andrew Wilson, who are both have been very successful on YouTube. They're bigger conservative names outside the Catholic world than me, but they both say, look, YouTube is hurting you. YouTube hurt Elijah. He started a second YouTube channel from scratch, even though he had over 500,000 subscribers. I did not know how much they do. They don't just take you out of the algorithm. That's why my channel is slow growing. In addition to being controversial, making the case for patriarchy, which a lot of Catholics were mad about, feminist Catholics. A lot of Catholics were mad that I said America is Catholic and needs to return to its Catholicism. Very popular now. A lot of Catholics were mad at that. Imagine how much YouTube gets mad at me. Can you imagine that? Imagine being a trad, but I'm just being honest, making these claims. The personal catechism of Pius X is one of the big ones. I want to read from it. Who are infidels? Catechism of Pius X, page 37, 12th question. Infidels are those who have not been baptized. This is all pre-Vatican II. Suarez, Bellarmine. I'm going to read De Lugo, another base Jesuit from the High Middle Ages. But this is early 20th century, before Vatican II. Who are infidels? Infidels are those who have not been baptized and do not believe in Jesus Christ, because they either believe in or worship false gods as idolaters to, or, unlike those who worship false gods or idolaters, though admitting one true God, they do not believe in the Messiah, neither has already come in the person of Jesus, nor has to come. For instance, who are they going to name, for instance? Mohammedans. LARPy dweebs call Muslims nowadays Mohammedans, and the like. So the Pius X Catechism literally juxtaposes Muslims who do worship the one true God against the other idolaters who worship false gods. But they're infidels. So it's a both and. It's a both and. It's a both and. It's a both and. It's not an either or. It's a both and. Then this has always been the Catholic position. I read you in the Latin, Gregory VII saying they worship one true God. In 1076, the Pius X Catechism, pre-Vatican II, pre-Nostra Aetate, says it. I'll read it again. Infidels are those who have not been baptized and do not believe in Jesus Christ, because they either believe in and worship false gods as idolaters to, polytheists, or, though admitting one true God, they do not believe in the Messiah, neither has already come in the person of Jesus Christ, nor is to come, for instance, Mohammedans. Okay, do you get it? So I am the guy. Another reason that we need your support on locals is I am the guy. I am much more a trad than whatever else kind of Catholic there are. I say I'm just Catholic, but my kids only do their sacraments really in the TLM. We have to travel to do it in New Orleans. We don't have one nearby. I'm liturgically a trad, but I'm not just going to say what I have to say to palliate people and be like, that's not my God. Well, the Pius X Catechism, Gregory VII, Suarez, Bellarmine, my 2 favorite late medieval guys. Thomas makes this distinction. Aquinas. Well, in one way, they worship the one true God, and another way, they don't. Thomas makes this distinction. The 1910 Catholic Encyclopedia As an ecclesiological language, this is 1910, those who by baptism have received faith in Jesus Christ and have pledged him their fidelity and called the faithful, so the name infidel is given to those who have not been baptized. The term applies not only to all who are ignorant of the true God, such as pagans of various kinds, but also those who adore him but do not recognize Jesus Christ as Jews and Mohammedans. So people were trying to say that the distinction that matters is, well, maybe they recognize the one true God, Muslims, but they don't adore the one true God. Nope. Also those who adore the one true God, him, but do not recognize Christ the way Jews and Mohammedans are. This is the Catholic Encyclopedia from 1910. You can't blame it on Vatican II, which is what Jay was trying to pin me to in the Tim Pool debate. Now, he doesn't like natural theology as an Orthodox. You know, they think it's a pre-Christian sort of pagan way of getting to God.
What is natural theology?
Natural theology is recognizing what Vatican I dogmatized, that in our Catholic religion, it's actually a heresy to say that with natural reason alone, you can't recognize that there is one true God and some of his most basic characteristics, not characteristics, attributes, like he's one instead of many. He's omnipotent, he's omnipresent, he's omniscient. And these are the attributes of the one true God, his oneness, his trueness, his transcendence. These are the attributes of the one Abrahamic God. Catholic Encyclopedia, 1910 says it. Catechism of Pope St. Pius X says it. And in addition to all these other guys, Pope Gregory VII in 1076 said it. Muslims are infidels. They do recognize, worship, even adore the one true God, but they're infidels because they deny that he's triune, they deny Jesus, they deny the Messiah. It's not going to get them to heaven. Soteriologically, meaning, is the theology sufficient to get them to heaven? Nope. They're still going to hell without Jesus or invincible ignorance, whatever that is. But you don't want to be, that's not a safe ticket. They will go to hell without Jesus or invincible ignorance, also a very old doctrine, based on their Islam, even if they know the one true God. Okay? So that's the real point that matters. Like who believes that you can get to heaven based on believing in the one true God or even adoring the one true God alone if you deny Jesus? None of these guys, not Gregory VII, not De Lugo, a late medieval Catholic, I think a Jesuit, Salamancan, not Suarez, not Bellarmine, not Thomas, not the Catholic Encyclopedia, which came right after Vatican I. Vatican I is when it dogmatized the view that as a Roman Catholic, you cannot deny that natural reason alone is sufficient to prove God's existence, the one true God, and even to adore him in certain aspects. Now, Orthodox don't like that. And so Jay's just downshifted to this old distinction between Orthodox and Catholics that we've always had, kind of like the Filioque or the Pope. For the last 1,000 years, we've differed over natural theology. Okay, well, that's fine. That's not such a slam dunk. He was trying to do the slam dunk of showing that Catholic theology changed after Vatican II. And I happened to be prepared with that because, again, this is why, even if I don't have as big a channel as Matt Fradd or Taylor or these other guys, CNN and all such outfits, Wall Street Journal, Tim Pool, they're choosing me as the representative because the word has got out that I bring the receipts, even though I wasn't there to debate Islam. Listen to Juan Cardinal de Lugo.
You carry the receipts in your brain. It's incredible.
The receipts are here.
Yeah, no notes needed.
Yeah, I said it was Bellarmine. It was one of the medieval popes. I didn't remember it was Gregory VII. I knew it was a Gregory. I didn't know it was the 7th. I thought it was one of the earlier Gregories. And that was not what we were supposed to be debating. It was like one of the medieval popes plus the Pius X catechism. I named it in the Tim Pool debate. You can go listen to it. Plus Bellarmine. I forgot it was Suarez. I forgot it was also De Lugo. I forgot it was the Catholic Encyclopedia. But I did remember Vatican I is the one that said natural theology. You basically have to accept or you're not a Catholic, meaning it is not a matter of faith to prove there's one true God. It's a matter of reason alone. Now, to know through revelation that Jesus is this second person of the Trinity and the Holy Spirit's the third person, you have to know divine revelation through Scripture and whatnot. But you don't have to know that to know of the Abrahamic God, and that's precisely why the Orthodox don't like it. But Jay, and I'm not saying Jay was trying to be sneaky. He's an Orthodox guy. He made the Orthodox claim, but he downshifted from saying we Catholics contradicted ourselves to just saying, well, okay, you didn't contradict yourself. I guess this is not a change at Vatican II. Oh, Gregory VII taught that 1,000 years ago. Well, we still don't like your natural theology that proves or that requires Catholics to believe that natural reason alone is enough to prove the one true God. Here's Cardinal De Lugo. There are some who, while they do not believe all the dogmas of the Catholic religion, do acknowledge the one true God, such as the Turks and all Muslims, as well as the Jews. Others acknowledge the triune God in Christ, as most heretics do. Now, if these people are excused from the sin of infidelity by reason of invincible ignorance, they can be saved. Oh, wow, this is De Lugo going into invincible ignorance. I forgot that line. Finally, if any Turks and Muslims were invincibly in error about Christ and his divinity, there is no reason why they could not have a true supernatural faith about God as the supernatural rewarder. Since their belief about God is not based on arguments drawn from natural creation, but they have this belief from tradition, and this tradition derives from the Church of the Faithful, and has come down to them, even though it is mixed up with errors in their sect. Since they have relatively sufficient motives for belief with regard to the true doctrines, one does not see why they could not have a supernatural faith about them, provided that in other respects they are not guilty of sinning against the faith. Now, this is more than even I've said. All I've said is Muslims are infidels. They're going to hell unless they have an invincible ignorance. It's not enough soteriologically, but they do believe errantly and even adore in the one true God. Once you get your mind around all this, don't argue with me. You're arguing with Gregory VII, all these other thinkers, Catholic Encyclopedia, Vatican I, long before Vatican II. The Catholic teaching has been remarkably consistent. Debate me, super chat and debate me on this. I'm not saying that I can prove it in a 2 or 3 hour debate to Jay, and then I'll convince all of the Orthodox world. But I should be able to convince all the Catholic world who's not sedevacantist, or maybe even sedes. I should be able to convince them too, that this has always been the Catholic teaching, the entire second millennium, beginning in 1076 AD. That's my view. So everyone was trying to mock me. No, this is not liberal Vatican II stuff. Vatican II just followed Vatican I, Catholic Encyclopedia, De Lugo, Suarez, Bellarmine, Thomas Aquinas, and Pope Gregory VII. These are really the only things the church has ever taught about it. Now, they say, oh, well, these guys worship demons. Well, they do. They have a demonic form of worship, but they are not ignorant of the most obvious aspects of the one true God.
If anybody wants to put in a super chat, you can argue with Tim. We will read all super chats at the end of the show.
Do it.
We go
debate with me. I'm just telling you what Catholicism has always taught about this issue.
Is this where the sense reference things came in?
Yes, and sense.
Let me show you the funny one that we found.
Yeah, would you read that one?
Yeah, so sense reference. Can you first give everybody a background of what that is and how that plays into this? And I can read this on the screen. All
right. This is another reason I'm uniquely qualified to be on these shows and to do this stuff in a way as a Catholic philosopher that knows theology. I'm a philosopher first, though. Analytic philosophy, particularly philosophy of language, posits a sense reference dichotomy or sense reference distinction whereby we distinguish between a term's sense, that means its meaning, the way it's intended subjectively, its meaning, and its reference, meaning the thing in the world itself.
That it's referring to.
That it refers to. So there always has to be a difference. Like if someone says to you, well, are you going to meet me out at the San Francisco Warriors game tonight? You know, it's Golden State Warriors who play in San Francisco. But in sports, the city is part of the title. So I wouldn't go, no, they don't exist. They don't exist. The San Francisco Warriors do not exist by reference as an NBA team. So I could be a jerk and say, I don't know what you're talking about. And this is what the Orthodox do, and this is what some of the trads do. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no such team in the NBA. There are 32 teams in the NBA, and this is not one of them. The San Francisco Warriors. No, it's the Golden State Warriors who play in San Francisco. Like the Phoenix Cardinals became the Arizona Cardinals, then did they become Phoenix again, I think. But they always played in Tempe, in Phoenix. They just sometimes choose to represent the state or the city. I forget how that works. But by sense, if my friend said, I'll meet you out at the San Francisco Warriors game tonight, I would say, okay, see you there, man. I'll see you there.
Like, and you know what he's saying.
It'll be at Oracle Arena or whatever. Is that the new one? It'll be at Oracle Arena. We'll meet there. How do we meet there if there's not a sense reference dichotomy? By reference, there's no such thing. You can go check it. By reference, there's no such thing as the San Francisco Warriors. By sense, I know exactly what he means subjectively. It's partly errant, but partly accurate. That's the key part. And it applies to Muslims exactly. Can Lois Lane, does she really love Clark Kent if she denies that he's Superman and he can fly? By sense, she can love him. By reference, where you have to know the whole truth about something, I guess not. I guess she doesn't love him if she doesn't know everything about him.
So there was a great post on this, and it's on the screen right now. And the Twitter handle was Catula Cajun, and it says, "People are IQ gated by the sense reference distinction." IQ gated just means like it's like a test to see how smart you are. Are you
dumb? You won't get it. Are you smart? You'll get it. That's an IQ gate.
Person, and they give the example of what the sense reference is in very, very simple terms. They say, person A, the earth is round. Person B, the earth is flat. Person C, they are referring to the same earth. It's just person B is wrong, that the earth is flat. Person D's conclusion. So person C thinks the earth is flat too. And then they give this like little, like kind of like the stupid, like trying to like fit a square peg into a round hole image.
Right. Because the reason person D says, well, person, what did they say? Person C must believe that it's flat.
Yeah.
Because they're only refusing. Person D thinks that all there is reference in the world, and someone doesn't acknowledge that they can be referring to the same earth. One person has the correct attribute, whether round or flat. Person B has the incorrect attribute, whether round or flat. They're still both talking about Earth with a map that we would all recognize once the map is flattened, a map on a desk. Just they get one of the attributes wrong. And it could be an important attribute. The way round or flat is basically an essential attribute of a planet. It can be really, really important. But because person D is retarded and doesn't acknowledge the sense reference dichotomy, it all must be reference. They're gonna say that, in essence, I believe with the Muslims that there is no son, that there is no son of God, just because Islam denies that God has a son. No.
Or the Catholic Church thinks that.
Right. Or that the Catholic Church thinks that. And that's kind of what the Ortho Bros have been doing online. They're saying, oh, the Catholics are minor Muslims. They believe God has no son. No, we know that the one true God has a son and a Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. He's triune. But there are these infidels, which is just what we should return to calling Jews and Muslims, who acknowledge the one true Abrahamic God, but they only acknowledge him as who we call the Father. They don't even think he's the father of anyone. Mm-hmm. So it's an IQ gate. Debate me on that. Super chat me if you want to call me a name or debate me, or if you're a locals person and you want to talk about it on locals. It's really straightforward. It's sense reference dichotomy, but they make that sound like it requires a trick to understand. You have to use linguistic gymnastics to understand. No, it's just the same thing. Sense reference dichotomy is what's active when my buddy says Steph Curry's my favorite player on the San Francisco Warriors, or I'll meet you out at Oracle Arena.
Or anybody who has like a toddler, like my 3-year-old is like pointing to the sun
and says ball. And you're like, no, that's not a ball, idiot. Actually, Actually, it is. It's a flaming orb in the sky.
She does this all the time. Well, she'll point this up, or she'll say something like she wants like milky juicy, which is what she calls just milk. And it's like, I know what she's saying. Like, it's like, but like most of these people out there just be like, nope, that doesn't exist. Just ignore her request.
Or another famous one in the 90s was little kids would call it cow juice. I don't know what you mean. You don't get any milk, little boy. You don't get any milk, little girl, because there is no such thing as cow juice. By sense, cow juice is milk. By reference, there's no such thing as cow juice. Which are you going to go with? Sense is subjective. It means the meaning as intended by the perhaps errant observer. Reference means the thing in the world, so it has to be all correct to refer to a thing by reference. I would also point out, this is not to be relativist, but none of us has seen the beatific vision. So we know very limited attributes of the one true God. If the sense reference, we know the most. We're the one people with revealed knowledge of God the way Jesus chose to reveal it. But no, until you've been in the beatific vision, you have infused knowledge of God. We just have what Jesus chose to reveal at the time. Now, it's complete with respect to what Jesus chose to reveal, but it's very incomplete with respect to what we will know in the beatific vision. So I'd just say it's kind of a spectrum. It's not relativistic, and it's not a spectrum with regard to soteriology, who gets into heaven. Christians have to know him. They have to have the sacraments. But there are infidels, and you just heard all of these people from the second millennium between 1000 AD and 2000 AD, and before 1962, which is when Vatican II began. Between 1000 and 1962, you heard all of these Catholic thinkers you respect saying Muslims are infidels who know the one true God, worship him, and even adore him. Sorry, it's a stupid tempest in a teapot. It is an IQ gate. Dumb people, when they want to sound smart, one thing they'll always do is they'll always just allow you, no, have you stopped beating your wife yet? You're like, well, I must answer with 3 extra words. No, I have not yet. And they'll say, okay, so you still beat her. Hold on, you interrupted me. There's a because subordinate clause in that sentence, because I never began beating her. Comma. I should, but no, okay. Maybe.
Step the line.
I have not stopped beating my wife yet, comma, because I never began yet. Still. Yeah.
See how if I screw up this audio any more times this week on this podcast.
Yeah, if my lighting doesn't get a bit more consistent. I have not stopped beating my wife yet. And they're like, that has to be the whole answer. No, I'm in the middle of a sentence. Because I never began. And dum-dums will always pitch a false dichotomy. Dum-dums will never allow a true dichotomy, like the sense reference dichotomy. And dum-dums will always pitch a both and as an either or.
You guys get yourself a girl that you can make those sorts of jokes to, and she'll laugh. Anyway, so thank you to Beck for just becoming a Locals member. And they were asking for the Lord of the Rings book club that you did. That was like the longest book club you ever did, by the way. Lord of the Rings. You went through the entire trilogy and did a video on like all of those chapters with your very good friend Anthony. So Beck, I will email us at timothyjgordon.com.
If you become a Locals supporter today, let's say we'll give it to Beck just because, irrespective of whatever, but $10 or more, we will give you a recorded class of your choice, which is like whatever, $100 value today. But you got to become a Local supporter today, and we'll give you whatever pre-recorded class you want.
We have a ton on the website.
Have so many. Now, here's the other thing that I'm going to start doing, camping out on Locals. You guys need to understand something about homeschooling that is utterly freeing, and I've never heard anyone else say it. When your kids are in grammar school, especially once they know how to read and write, but they're young, first, second grade, let's say by second grade, the way to do grammar school is utterly liberating, and it's all based around diagramming sentences and setting them up to teach them Latin. Now, this is something I want to do for all Local supporters. We've done it in the past where I teach parents, a lot of whom don't know how to diagram sentences, never were taught it, or have forgotten. I could teach you in about an hour how to diagram sentences. And this is I'm not exaggerating. Someone who sometimes exaggerates for jokes. It's 85 to 90% of grammar school education, not just for grammar, but for object permanence, for teleology, for ontology. Your kids need to know subjects, objects, verbs, which are action, and verbs, which are linking. And there are two basic types of sentences. If they become grammar masters, the next thing you ought to start doing in 4th grade, teaching them Latin, good Latin grammar, will be so easy. But you can't learn Latin unless you know diagramming. So 2nd and 3rd grade should be an hour a day of you just writing out sentences, complex sentences, and your kid diagramming it. That's why it's called grammar school. Now,
I was so skeptical about this, by the way, because I never learned this in public school, diagramming sentences. And when you would talk about this as like the foundation of education for young people, just to apply to other aspects of their life, like writing and thinking and all of these sorts of things, just understanding basically the math of our language, how that should be first. And that's why it starts in grammar school. I was so skeptical, but watching you go through and teach our daughters this, diagramming sentences, it's incredible, like what sort of application they apply to all other subjects, and how after they have that foundation, it's so much easier for them to learn other languages, even some of the math principles, things like that. It is unbelievable. It really is an absolute tragedy that we're not doing this in school anymore.
No one else is saying this. That is why 1st grade through 5th grade, kindergarten was made up by the communists, literally. Brought by University of Chicago communist education people. You shouldn't put your kid in even homeschool before 1st grade. We don't do kindergarten, but that's why 1st through 5th grade is called grammar school. When there's a remnant of classical education in America, grammar school is all. Now you got to teach them things like penmanship, which pertains to grammar. CIA has all these tricks for intelligence tests. It's size of writing and quality of penmanship are actually IQ tests for verbal intelligence.
So many women have enormous writing. So what does that mean?
But we're trying not to offend today. We need local supporters. Got scared yesterday when we looked at local support dipping. But literally, it's called grammar school because sentence diagramming is not just... Because grammar is more than what you think it is. It's not just linguistic. It applies to Aristotle's 10 categories of existence. It's how you separate a substance from an accident. So it's the basis of philosophy. It's how you separate the subject-object dichotomy, if you want to get Kantian, not that we do. It's very, very important, and I'm going to just do some short entries for all grandparents or parents who are local supporters. I just want to teach you guys really fast, just with little locals entries. This is what you need to be teaching your grandkids or kids. 85% of your time can just be, okay, you could be reading a book, just write a sentence on the board, have them diagram it. Write 10 sentences on the board, have your kids diagram it. Go back to your book. Do 10 more sentences. You're done for the day. It makes them little geniuses, and they'll be ready to learn Latin if they're really smart starting in 3rd grade. If they're more normal, starting in 4th grade. You can't teach Latin because nouns decline, nouns conjugate. You can't decline a noun unless you know the difference between a subject, direct object, indirect object. So you need sentence diagramming. There's no one else out there saying this. This is the main part of education. I will teach you to do it, and also will teach you how to learn Latin at the same time as your kids. There's a class for that. But the point is, and I do private tutoring, but I'd like to do that to a unique special clientele who want to learn philosophy and theology. I mean, people like lawyers, doctors who didn't learn the stuff that want to, because it's high-end stuff. I can't do shows on Thomistic metaphysics because it's so difficult.
People already complain that your vocabulary is like, they'll be like, what are you saying?
It's 10,000 times more difficult than just using a big word. So I am going to do this, and I'm going to be more active on locals, 25 to 50 times more. So become a local supporter anytime today, and you will get a free recorded class. You're just going to see a lot more of me on locals. Been kicked off of Patreon, lost my job, don't really know where I could go. Being the engine behind the Catholic right wing, the far Catholic right wing, not the biggest channel, but the ideas are generated here. Case for Patriarchy, Catholic Republic, and everyone's talking about the ideas. The Blaze comes to me, Wall Street Journal comes to me, CNN, Tim Pool, Elijah Schaffer. When people want to know, they come here. But it's a reasonably boutique channel. So please support us on Locals. Go to rulesforretrogrades.locals.com. As much as you can support, we need it. I'm just a dad with a webcam. That's really true.
So we have reached the fun portion of the show where we're going to let you guys argue with Tim. So let's start this off.
Yeah.
So Damien on Twitter said, Tim, you said yourself that Muslims worship demons. Therefore, logically, they clearly do not worship the one true God.
No, they do. When popes are speaking, Damon, when popes speak about Muslims worshiping demonically, I mean, I don't think they worship multiples. So you can't say they worship demons. The way that de Lubac frames it here, you can't have that S in there. I've said Muslims worship demonically, which is an adverb. And they do. They do worship the one true God demonically. There is a term for this in the Catholic Encyclopedia. The term was fleshed out all throughout the second Christian millennium, from Gregory VII all the way to 1910, when they said, well, here's the official term for that. What about someone that worships the one true God, but they worship demonically? Oh, that is called an infidel. I'll read it to you from 1910. Muslims worship the one true God. They don't have multiple gods. They worship the one true God demonically. Catholic Encyclopedia, 1910. You're trying to say, well, by reference, they worship anything other than the triune God, the perfect way. Therefore, they worship multiple demons. No, they only worship one thing. They call it Allah. People get into arguments over, is this Yahweh? Well, the Catholic Encyclopedia says, by sense, at least, it is Yahweh. Not by reference necessarily. It says, as in ecclesiastical language, those who by baptism have received faith in Jesus Christ and have pledged him their fidelity, called the faithful, so the name infidel is given to those who have not been baptized. The term applies not only to all who are ignorant of the true God, such as pagans of various kinds, but also to those who adore him but do not recognize Jesus Christ as Mohammedans. So you're either, this is not a Vatican II thing, at least acknowledge that. This is a early 20th century Catholic Encyclopedia thing. It's a Vatican I thing. Right after Vatican I, even closer to Vatican I than 1910, is a catechism. That either people who reject Christ break into two camps, okay? What's this?
Damien, sorry, Damien.
Damien, which is close to demon, but I'm not saying you're a demon. I'm just saying that's a funny happenstance, if you know what I mean. They either, the two type of people who do not worship Jesus, either believe in and worship false gods, as idolaters do. Those are the ones, the polytheists worship demons. You can use an S. Or, though admitting the one true God, so this is a disjunctive syllogism. I'm also a logic professor. This is a disjunctive syllogism. This is the Catechism of Pius X. The other side of the disjunct, though admitting the one true God, this is Jews and Muslims, they do not believe in the Messiah, neither has already come in the person of Christ, nor to come. For instance, Muslims and Jews. So you have everybody above the disjunctive syllogism, Damon, is people that acknowledge the triune God. Those who deny the triune God are either idolaters, who are polytheists like Hindus. They literally worship demons with an S. Or on the other side of the disjunct, but by definition, a disjunctive syllogism means it's dichotomous. The other side are people that worship the one true God, but if you will, you can add the adverb demonically. Perfectly fair, perfectly accurate. They worship the one true God, but it's demonic because they do not believe in the Messiah. Neither has already come in the person of Christ, nor to come. Got it? Somebody else. Pepper me with stuff.
Yeah, they're coming in. So we're going to get through all of these super chats. So again, if you want to argue with Tim, super chat, and you can argue with him on this. JD, and some people are actually agreeing with you, but JD says, Tim,
I'm
for
just
what
telling you what the church has taught since 1000. Remember, Islam only crept out of the Arabian deserts demonically in the 7th century. In the 7th century, so it was at the end of the first millennium. As early as 1076, you had Pope Gregory VII clarifying this disjunctive syllogism. Everyone above the syllogism believes in the triune God. Below the syllogism, you're an idolater, means you're a polytheist and you do in fact worship the false gods who are demons. Or still below the line, you don't believe in the triune God. On the other side is you're an infidel. That means you believe in the one true God, but you believe in him demonically, in a demonic way, where you're separating the Father from his consubstantial Son and Holy Spirit. It's just that simple. It was taught that from 1076 to Catechism of Pius X and Catholic Encyclopedia 1910. And then in Vatican II as well. Vatican II is more tricky because you had Ronner and Ratzinger doing liberal stuff, but they're just teaching what had already been taught.
JD says on Super Chat, Tim, for what it's worth, I think you nail how we should think about Vatican II Council docs, implications, and what is needed. I know you have a lot queued up, but I would love to see a series written work on these docs. Your analysis is great.
There is a book defending it. The textualism of Vatican II from intentionalism of Vatican II that was in the works. It was going to be for Sophia Institute Press. Then Francis continued to talk and to say he was the apotheosis of Vatican II. And I thought, I need to hold it with this. But the difference between, again, this is one of those dichotomies, two types of originalism. Other Catholics don't know this stuff. This is from secular constitutional jurisprudence. I'm a Scalian from Nino Scalia. There are two types of originalists: a textualist who doesn't care what the intention of an author is, because authors can dupe ratifiers at constitutional ratification conventions like they did at Vatican II, using private language the way Ronner and Skillebeck's fooled everybody else with vague phrasings. So the other type of originalist, an intentionalist, represented by Stanley Fish, philosopher of language. So the true meaning in the text inheres in the private intention of guys like Ronner and Skillebeck's. Here's why it doesn't. I'll prove it to you. I will prove it to you. I don't make this case often. This is at least a quia demonstration in Aristotle's terms. Here's the proof. Because a constitution is a particular type of written work that we don't have La Cosa Nostra. We don't have a complete thing unless it's ratified by a bunch of ratifiers or secondary authors, if you will, right? Same with sacred constitutions, like the 4 sacred constitutions of Vatican II. Same with the secular constitution of 1787-88. Mm-hmm. Only a few guys wrote it. James Madison, maybe James Wilson helped him. A few other Jeffersonians kind of helped him, but it was mainly Madison with Wilson. But then a bunch of other guys had to ratify it, or it wasn't anything at all. It wasn't a document. So those are secondary authors. Same thing at Vatican II. You had the drafters of the sacred constitutions, but then you had like 5,000 ratifiers, and it's always a vote. The ratifiers are the secondary authors. So the question is, are you a Scalian with like a textualist, where you say all that matters, the meaning of the language inheres in the original public meaning, 3 elements. Original meaning that date, not if the word changes, like, gay used to mean happy, now it means homo. Original meaning that date, public meaning not private meaning, as between Ronner and Skillebeck's. They're going like this with their weaponized ambiguity. It means original public meaning. That's what's being ratified by people besides Ronner and Skillebeck's and the Ronnerites. That's what happened at Vatican II. So they tried to use these private meanings that would change over time, so they're neither original nor public. They tried to use them, and then they're like, we'll fudge it after the council, and then we'll say everyone ratified it. No, the ratification is the original public meaning on that date in 63 or 64 or 65. So that meaning is frozen in time to the day that it was ratified. You got the other 5,000 moderates at the council to go along with it. They're like, well, this might be vague, but here's what it means. They can't bend it later the way Skillibic said they would, unless, as a jurisprude, as someone who interprets the text, you're an intentionalist, which is Stanley Fish. An intentionalist says, well, the private intention of the drafter, who might kind of fool with weaponized ambiguity all the ratifiers, who are actually more important than the drafters because they're more numerous. That's where the meaning adheres. Intentionalism is what all the hermeneutic of rupture people are. You're an intentionalist, but it's stupid. Like Justice Scalia used to say, the late, great Scalia, who was a Catholic, originalism by textualist standards is the only game in town. Everyone knows that the meaning is what was ratified originally and publicly. And with original public meaning, it doesn't matter if there was private little meaning that could be bent and changed and weaponized at the time and then changed later, the way Stanley Fish thought. So if you're a textualist, you'll say Vatican II, yeah, lots of bad intent among the authors, but the ratifiers clearly were hermeneutic of continuity people, and they just said, well, this must be faithful. So you would deny that the constitutions are bad. If you're an intentionalist, a la Stanley Fish, then you'll say that meaning can change after the date of ratification. It's stupid. Originalism, textualism is the only game in town.
Very good. Thank you. Next super chat says, your name is auto-filtered by Reddit Catholic dating. I think they're censoring you, which they always do.
By Reddit?
By Reddit, yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, I think, I'm sure it is. 100%.
I mean, I didn't know.
Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, thanks for the super chat. I didn't know Reddit was one of these censorship sites. I mean, Reddit's very Gen X, but it's not boomer. It's very Gen X. But I guess that does surprise me. I'm always surprised by stuff like that. And Steph's always like, why, dude?
I have never been on Reddit ever in my life. I wouldn't even recognize it if it stood right in front of me. So, I'm not familiar with that one. But
the talking point, though, my friend, thank you for the super chat, is that there's a reason Wall Street Journal is publishing op-eds about, Tim is the leader of the right-wing Catholic patriarchalists. CNN, what do the Catholic far-right think with the patriarchalists? What do they think about who should become Pope tomorrow? And they do a long feature on me. They came
your
all the way
infamous Vanity Fair, like everything is fake and gay.
I said everything is fake and gay. They cited me talking to George Farmer. And then they cited me again in, I think, May. So they cited me twice in the last 7 or 8 months, which is hilarious. Obviously Elijah is a far right guy. Tim Pool's more like a Catholic normie. But the point is, the Blaze sort of more conservative normie. The Blaze is more conservative normie. The reason they're coming here is because they do care somewhat about ideas. And when it comes to, well, who's the Catholic, the right-wing American layman Catholic that's supplying normie conservatives and the left with ideas to emulate or shoot at, depending on whether you're a normie conservative or a lefty, it's clearly coming from the case for patriarchy and Catholic Republic. So it's just a big deal.
Next super chat, confrontation.
But I'm very censored. Yeah.
Consecrated Soul says, which divine person in the Trinity, true God, do you Muslims worship, Tim? They explicitly reject the same referent, Sarah, which is 171, Allah equals idol, Yahweh equals Trinity.
Yes. It's not the sense referent dichotomy, it's the sense reference dichotomy. But you're confusing. I think Jay was making this mistake too. You're thinking that the referent is the subjective linguistic component and that the sense is the objective component. It's the other way around. And that's why you don't understand the sense reference dichotomy.
Can you give an example of what you mean there?
So you could call it the meaning/thing dichotomy. Sense is the meaning of a thing, and its meaning specifically, this is just Fregean linguistic philosophy. It's Gottlieb Frege. And he says, anytime there's a speaker who's a non-all-knowing person, the speaker references something in the world, which is the reference, in a way that's at least partly fallible, defeasible. And that is the sense or the meaning that he's applying to a thing. Even if it's a really simple sentence like the ball is red, there's still a sense reference dichotomy. There's the meaning of why is this person talking about this thing? And then there's the reference, meaning the thing in the world. So great question. It's actually a very good question, but you just have, the reason you can't understand the sense reference dichotomy is because you're thinking that the sense is the objective part and the reference is the subjective part. It's the other way around. So Muslims, yes, they understand Allah as whom we call Father. But Father is an indexical term. It's relational. Again, I'm trying to break this down. It's an indexical relational term. The fact that they believe it in an errant way, they believe that the term indexes to Yahweh, but not the relationality of Father, does not destroy the fact that there is a sense by which they say, well, we too worship the God of Abraham. We just don't think he's the Father. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So they're worshiping the Father, not qua Father. They're worshiping the Father qua Yahweh in the sense of sense. And they are, of course, rejecting the Messiah. And this is what makes them, you're not arguing with me. You're arguing with Catholicism, there, guy. You're arguing with Catholicism. I can go back to the 1910 Catholic Encyclopedia or Pope Gregory VII, Suarez, Bellarmine, De Lugo, Thomas Aquinas, or the Catechism of Pius X itself. And I'm not, you're just trying to catch me in I have not stopped beating my wife yet, ... because I never began. That you're just trying to end the sentence. And you're also doing bad analytic philosophy of language as you go. You're not even getting them right. What's the sense and what's the reference? Mm-hmm. It's not a referent, it's a reference. The referent is that which is being referred to. So it kind of makes some sense. But the reference in the world refers to the referent.
Next confrontation. Nick says, would you say the invincible ignorance for Muslims is a theoretical possibility, but practically impossible in 2025? Perhaps already covered. He got here late. He's just saying maybe you already.
Yeah, I'd say something close to this. I would say something close to this. I don't know how impossible because only God knows. You'll never hear me say G -- like, oh my, but literally only God knows this. Outside of space and time, on the other side of the eschaton, he alone knows how ignorant one must be to be invincible. But here's what I would say something close to what you just said, and I'm not like an ecumenist or a dewy-eyed universalist. So I don't care. Even if I'd be fine with the fact that maybe invincible ignorance has never been extended to anyone in the world. I mean, it would be great if the standards are more lenient because they're more lenient on everyone, right? But that doesn't really concern me. Here's the important part on that. Michael Lofdog, white vanilla, white chocolate. He did a video saying both Jay and I were wrong, even though I was defending Vatican II, which is a rare thing, against what Jay Dyer was saying. Michael said, no, Tim doesn't get it. Tim says that I did a good tweet on this recently.
Let me see if I can find it.
Can you find it?
How long ago was it?
It was while we were in one of the parks. I think one of the water park
While
days.
we were blasting through the Alpine Flats?
Yeah. I said, there's invincible ignorance, which is an old teaching. De Lugo references it. Aquinas knows about it. It's a medieval philosophy distinction. So Muslims might be capable of qualifying for invincible ignorance. Maybe it's basically an impossible standard in 2025. I'm fine with that. It probably never gets extended, very rarely gets extended to anyone. You want to be in the church and in the sacraments. Mm-hmm. And then there's the one true God thing that the church has always taught. They believe in the one true God, but as infidels, qua infidels, which is not soteriologically valid. It's in a sense ontologically valid to believe in the one true God as an infidel. Ontologically, you're saying, you're in a very errant way, you're saying, okay, you're still pointing at Yahweh, but not qua Father. But because you're not pointing at Yahweh qua Father, because of what Jesus says, then it will not be soteriologically valid. It won't be enough. So Muslims and Jews worship the one true God, but I don't believe that for 99.5% of them, or maybe more, that it's soteriologically valid. What's his face? White Chocolate, Michael Lofdog, did a video saying, no, he's combining the two. He's saying their invincible ignorance and the fact that they believe in the one true God and all these Catholic texts teach it, they smush into one concept, and then suddenly there's soteriological merit to their errant belief, and there's none. That's where he's wrong, and the guy's just a goofball. But
is this the tweet? Strong scriptural point here refuting errant soteriological extensions of natural theo like loft dogs. Is that the tweet that's on the screen right now?
No, that it's near that though. I think it's close to that. I said there's two things. It'll have one.
Is it the related IQ gate? Church parentally taught 1, invincible ignorance 2.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Is that on the screen?
I can put that right here. Yeah. Do you want me to read it?
This is it. Yeah. Yeah. Would you read this slowly? This is everything I just said, but much more succinctly.
Sure. It says, here's a related IQ gate. This is Tim's tweet on the topic. The church parentally taught 1, invincible ignorance, God can save ignorant infidels. And 2, natural theology, which means natural intellect can discern true limited aspects of false religion. But you cannot combine them. RC does not teach these true aspects of false religion save.
Right.
Ignorance does. True aspects have teleological but non-soteriological merit.
Right. Somehow mysteriously meritorious, unique ignorance. We don't know what the merits of an invincible ignorant man would be, but they're not his religion, right? It's not like, oh, God's like, well, we'll extend this to Muslims and Jews, but not Hindus. A Hindu or an atheist, if they're truly, or an agnostic, I guess, can be truly, if they're truly ignorant, they can be truly invincible and go to heaven by some mysterious surrogate for the graces of the sacraments or the graces of the Eucharist or the grace of belief in Christ. Do you see? But it's not from their religion. And Lofdog thinks that you mush those two together. The ignorance, if it's invincible, which is very, very rare and a hard standard to meet, that's what saves through whatever merit surrogates for the sacraments. Not the fact that Muslims or Jews are infidels who worship the one true God, but falsely. Those two things just coexist, but you can't say that's not a both and. See,
how did he make that mistake?
Because he wants to be unique, he wants to be novel, he wants to be a high IQ, but he can't function at the level of distinction that this channel makes. A hope or a binds. Yeah, precisely. I mean, I'm not trying to like brag today. I'm just saying this motor, when I'm doing Catholic current events, the motor's revving not even to like 1,000 RPMs. Like, I would love to teach Aristotomist metaphysics, but there's no access. It's so intense that I'd love to teach it on my channel, but it would just be, it's too special access. That's why I want to tutor people in things like metaphysics, but I mean people like doctors, lawyers, other high-end, an engineer or something that's like, I am Catholic, I just didn't have time to study this. I have a PhD in petrochemical engineering, but I want to learn this as a Catholic. Okay, well, that's a guy that can do it, can handle it, has the money for private tutoring. But and I can teach the Nicomachean ethics on my website. That is beautiful, amazing philosophy for everyone. Metaphysics is not, and that it confuses too many people.
Next super chat is they say Earth can be seen by sense data. Analogy doesn't apply to God. God is outside of time and space, hence can't be known by sense data. Islam and Christians are references. Same God is an assumption. See,
this is one of those times where I don't want people to say I'm snarky. You don't even know what you're talking about, though. Like, it's not the 5 sensory inputs. It's not the 5 senses of material epistemology. That's not what we're talking about. Sense means meaning. It's ratiocination. It's subjective ratiocination. That it's just a totally different word. And you get people, again, with no training in this stuff, being like, the five senses, what? There's a dichotomy between sight and vision or hearing and reference. No, I think that, dude, the sense reference dichotomy is Fregean philosophy of language. It means the meaning, linguistically speaking, again, go back to diagramming sentences, the meaning in as intended by the subject, it's an intentionalist thing, versus the direct object or the subject in the sentence actually being spoken of in the world. Mm-hmm. The thing itself versus the meaning somebody privately attaches to that thing. It has to be a different thing because language is not the real thing. Now, Neoplatonism and Platonism gives even some trained people funny ideas about sense reference dichotomy because they're like hardcore realists rather than modified realists in epistemology. But again, I'm not trying to be rude. You don't even know what I'm talking about here. Go back to what I originally said. Sense means meaning. Reference means the thing in the world. And anytime someone utters a simple sentence, a complex sentence, there has to be a dichotomy between the thing they're talking about and the meaning entailed by the way that they use these lexical signifiers.
This happens all the time in our marriage because I misuse words all the time. And yet, you know what I'm saying.
He thought I meant like the five senses, like taste. The taste... the smelling reference dichotomy. That's just
he's saying that I think what he's saying obviously is just that the earth can be discerned through our senses, whereas God can't be. And so God it basically has a veil. There's a veil of understanding with God because we can't use our senses. No.
So this is an early and Enlightenment epistemological debate between the empiricists and the rationalists. We're talking God's knowability is knowable. Think more in terms of the rationalists, if you know a little bit about the history of philosophy, not the empiricists. The empiricists who believe at their bottom, Humean reductionism, that really all you have are the five senses. You don't even have the meaning conveyed to intellect by the five senses. Like someone like Hume doesn't even believe that. He says you can see a cue ball hit a billiard ball 1,000 times and you can't ever impute causation to it because that's invisible. All he thinks you have is vision, hearing, taste, touch, smell, and that sensory input, but he doesn't even want to say that sensory input conveys anything to your intellect. So it'd be more like a rationalist. The Catholic Church has always taught rationalistically that human reason can understand through things like Thomas's five ways, particularly the two of them, particularly two of the five ways that are reason specific, that God must exist. He must be one, or you run into Edith Hamilton's Greek gods problem. So we're talking about reason. It's more like the knowing about God through reason, which Muslims can, and they can prove that God is one, and he would be the one true God that has things like unicity, simplicity, omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence. There is only one guy that refers to, but they can get him wrong and not understand that there's a Son and a Holy Spirit and not know about the God of the New Testament. We're not talking about five senses, though. You don't understand. I'm trying to be polite.
Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat.
Bring on Brenton Apologetics says, bring on Divine Mercy Apologetics, Pax Christi. Oh, that I think that's Elijah was trying to connect you with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they're good and they agree, I'm already doing debates. I'll debate you guys. I'll debate Jay Dyer again. I've done a lot of debates. I debated the Protestant on Trent Horn's channel, whatever that was, a year and a half ago. I love debates. I'll do more debates, but yeah, sure, I will. If they're friendly, I don't need to debate, a third guy on the same topic.
Tom says, Tim, please consider bringing on James from Divine Mercy. There we go again. He's excellent on this topic. So it sounds like
I've heard that a
James.
lot. I think I know what he looks like. And again, no fragging. I'm sure he's amazing. The two guys that went on Cameron Bertuzzi's channel, I saw clips, looked like they did a good job. I was it's weird to be the one, me and Jay, that generated all this talk. Even secular conservatives on Twitter are like, do Muslims worship the one true God? Because it was on Tim Pool. And then Cameron Bertuzzi reaches out to Jay, and then he doesn't reach out to me. And I'm not saying I take it personally. Maybe he just thought he knew two guys, but they give me the Nick Fuentes treatment. They're talking all my talking points, but some of these people, some of them are establishment people, some of them have just heard funny stuff that's not true or whatever, but they won't use my name.
Or I guess
like
Reddit.
A Dre record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ed Maza just gave you $10. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
Great guy. Okay, Lauren, super chat. God chose a hamlet named Fatima for a reason. Muslims have more reverence for Mary than Protestants. They may convert before the Prots and Jews.
Yeah, I mean, you could see the meritorious aspects of Muslims. You're pointing one out that I agree with. You can see the meritorious aspects of Protestants. Obviously, they are Trinitarian, but they're just a book club. Protestants don't really have a religion. They don't have the elements of natural religion. They don't have a sacerdotal class. They don't have sacraments. They don't have daily precepts. They have to do anything or go to any special building. They don't believe in sacramentals. They don't have things like prayer beads. Muslims have all that stuff. I'm not saying they have all the same stuff, but they practice a religion. So they have that in their favor, and they like Mary and Jesus in a really wrong-headed way. Protestants love Jesus, but they don't really have a religion.
Would you call it a book club?
Yeah, it's a pre-Enlightenment ratiocinating pro-Jesus book club. That's all Protestantism is. So that's their thing. Jews, I don't know. What can you say?
We'll say that on Locals. Hey, well, after this show, we're going to do Locals.
I'll finish the thing about Jews. The Jews, you'd say, had the faith until they, blanked the Lord. Mm-hmm. So that's the one thing I can say is quoting the Leo XIII Vatican, which published these essays, 3 essays in 1890. They were Mosaists until the deicide. After the deicide, they became Talmudists. So the best thing I can say about them is that in one sense they were the elder brothers in the faith, but they stopped being that when they moved from Mosaism to Talmudism, and everything's been pretty evil since then.
Divine Mercy Apologetics, by the way, just said I'm a friendly Tim. So that's
I know. I can picture your face, and definitely a friendly, doff of the cap, and good work. And yeah, let's do a show. Guy
sent in a super chat and said he became a man. I picked the wrong one. He sent a few of them. Sorry, excuse me. He said, this is why we are all the adopted children of God. God is his father, not ours. His death on the cross allows us to become his adopted children because his son died for us, because he took pity on us when he became man, and he judged us and decided to die on the cross when he could have become king. But because of Mary's love for us too, God allowed her to give his son a chance to choose. And I think he goes on here. There's a few of them that he sent. So she was enabled by God for God to have a choice, and he chose us to be with him. We just have to choose to follow that path, his way. I believe, but I can be wrong. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Thank you for the many.
Thank you for the comment.
Chat.
Thanks for the super chat.
JD says, this is for Uncle Remus. He'll get there, bro.
My Uncle Remus might think he can flap his wings and fly. That doesn't mean he can. Now, there are those passages also in, is this Nostre or Lumen Gentium, from the Tim Pool debate with Jay Dyer and the goofy Protestant, but really just Jay Dyer, where it mainly applies to the polytheists. It will always be a sentence again with a subject and a verb, and then a subordinate clause that involves another verb, but it will always be like, they think they can fly, like my Uncle Remus. They believe that they can attain nirvana. They claim they can reach salvation by, and then it'll be like some element of their faith. Well, this is merely what they posited. When I say my dear, sweet, crazy old Uncle Remus believes he can fly, that is not me endorsing the notion. That is not the propositional. The proposition there is not that Uncle Remus can fly.
It's more of like, hey, take a look at this guy.
No, it is a referent to his belief. It does not index to a fact about Uncle Remus. It indexes to a fact that the fact is that he believes something which is errant.
And JD is referring to, by the way, that Tim mentioned this on the Tim Pool cast, this Uncle Remus quote. So
yeah,
good. Okay. So next one, it says, have you seen the forensic evidence that Sister Lucia of Fatima was replaced? It sounds crazy, but the experts say the face and handwriting are from two different people. It's true. If it's true, it's a bombshell. I think that just came out recently. That they did some evidence on this, and some people said that.
I haven't seen the handwriting. I've seen the jaw, the downturned mouth. Maybe I should look at it, but the problem, let me say this. I'm not saying I know 100% certain that's wrong. I don't. The problem with being outlier in that way is after 2020, we know a lot of things called conspiracy theories turned out true. Not all of them. I don't have the tuning fork. I don't have the touchstone. You know what a touchstone is, to tell real gold from fake gold or whatever. I don't have the touchstone or the philosopher's stone, as it's called, to discern real from fake on things like that. And what you guys all have to realize is that I'm already, even though they're taking my ideas, mainstream conservatives, mainstream Catholics, and they're pollinating off of these ideas, they're already blacklisting my name. They're not inviting me on the mainstream shows anymore. So if you go there, and my worth as a worker in the vineyard is to help people understand these distinctions as a trained philosopher. I think the new mass is really quite bad, and it's had an evil effect. But I never said Traditionis Custodes was ultra vires to Pope Francis. And so I've done debates where I'm like, no, it's not ultra vires, and people get mad. I'm like, look, this is my value. It's a Dark Knight thing, because trads are always like, I thought you were with us. Now you're saying that. I'm like, I am. I really dislike the Novus Ordo. I'm just saying, I'm not willing to say that Vatican II or Francis are ultra vires when they really make the beautiful, amazing, one true Mass of the Ages out of reach of people. It's evil still. It just might not be ultra vires to the office. That's my role. My role is also to endorse conspiracy theories I've become certain of. That's been a lesser role of mine. That's why I like working with Jay Dyer. He sounds stuff out really well. He's really good at that. He doesn't just buy into every conspiracy theory. He's a great touchstone for conspiracy theories, Jay Dyer. My role is also teacher. I mean, that's a huge part of that's the only job I was ever good at, right? Was teacher of difficult concepts. But I was not a great research attorney shepherdizing stuff. It's boring. I was not a great landman.
Did people know that you were a carny at one point?
I wasn't a great carny. I wasn't on hair. I wasn't strung out on like black tar H. But I am a great teacher. So teacher, sort of help you touchstone a certain select class of conspiracy theories, distinguisher. This is my role. And I'm already blacklisted. And they are like you saw happen with Nick Fuentes 3 or 4 years ago on geopolitics, which the guy understands really well. If you saw his debate with Dinesh D'Souza, he understands geopolitics really well. People I know that are more normie were like, wow. I was like, did you see that? Don't call him a kid.
Did you see that?
Old. He's going to be, did you hear that? He's going to be like 35. People are still going to be like, look at this kid. He knows geopolitics really well. And he's been sounding the alarm for a while about, who's. And people wouldn't say his name, but slowly they started stealing his ideas. Now they're willing to say his name a little bit. And that's good for him. People deserve credit. But the same thing has been going on with me, Catholic Republic, Case for Patriarchy, inside Catholicism, really ever since I left Taylor Marshall's channel. And so I don't need that negative energy. I'm not sure with Third Secret of Fatima, with with the fake Sister Lucy versus real one. I just don't go for all of them. I'm not saying I know it's false, though. I'm not saying I won't look into it. I'll try to look into it. Mm-hmm. I just have a lot going on, man. But also, what I'm willing to say about the Third Secret of Fatima is in Sister Lucy's 4th memoir. She says, her girl cousin, Jacinta, mm-hmm. was only missing one of the senses, right? Speech, hearing, sight. Francisco is missing 2. So she had to ask him, can I relate the words of the third secret after the fact, since he can't hear? He can't hear or see Mary. Jacinta couldn't see her, but she could hear her. So Lucy asks the Virgin Mother, can I relate the words of the Virgin to him, of you, the Virgin, to him? And she says, yes. So there are words in the third secret. See, that's a logic professor's, a philosophy professor's proof. Mm-hmm. There are no words of the third secret that appear in the Cardinal Bertone 2000 version, year 2000 version. Mm-hmm. There's more to it. And it's that 26 lines or whatever people said they saw through. So that's my kind of conspiracy theory. I want certitude before I'll say whatever. That suggests maybe there are other aspects of conspiracy, like maybe a fake and a real Sister Lucy. But one starts sounding kookier to do that. There are people that can do that and know it more, and they're not trained philosopher, constitutionalists, Thomists. So let them do that. That's why I kind of try to swim in my lane, even on a given topic. I'm a fatimist qua propositional facts, like what I said. I'm not so much and I'm a conspiracist insofar as I do that, but I'll let the other people do that. There's a real, there are fine lines between our swimming lanes, but that's one of those lines.
Next super chat question. Will Steph's book, Ask Your Husband, ever be on Audible? So actually it is. We just did this, by the way. We they let us do like an automatic voice, like a virtual voice sample. So I can give a sample of that right now. It's kind of funny, but I had to pick the voice. It's not my voice, but
do it.
This title is narrated with virtual voice. Computer-generated narration for audiobooks.
I thought you did a man.
Ask Your Husband by Mrs. Timothy J. Gordon.
What's funny, I should have done that.
You should have done a man.
It should have been just your voice like the entire time. But yes, it is on Audible. That we just did this like a couple of weeks ago. So there's that. So, and also if you want signed copies of that book, Ask Your Husband, or Leaving Cleve, our jointly written marriage book, you can go to timothyjgordon.com. And when we're waiting for, if you've already ordered that, by the way, we got some books in the mail. We're signing them and shipping them this week. So go ahead and get that in. Let me see here. Ask the Kid says, confrontation continues. He says, Peter Diamond would take you to task on invincible ignorance and Muslim topic for sure.
Well, you don't say take me to task. Say would disagree.
Say, sir?
So, yeah. Say, sir, do you have the time for a haircut? Right? I'm the barber. You know what I mean? Don't presume what you set out to prove, my friend. Don't beggar questions. Don't beggar questions. Catholics have to stop talking like this. It's dorky and larpy. Just say, look, Peter Diamond disagrees about invincible ignorance.
Sir?
Well, yeah, I know, but that's the thing. I'm a medieval philosopher, and the medieval philosophers that I respect have invincible ignorance. So do you know, he's not going to take me to task, like whack me with a yardstick on my bum or something like that. He might disagree, but he'd be wrong, because it's a very, very, very old concept. And it's also required by natural reason, or almost required. It's also heavily suggested by natural reason. Catholics have to start learning how to give witness to public disagreements and debates. Like, oh, he's going to own you. Well, no, you can't just say that.
It's always like on Twitter. It's like, he destroyed him.
Ben Shapiro destroys college sophomore liberal. Hey, come on, man. Come on, do better.
Do better. Do better, asked the kid. Okay, next super chat. Guy sent in, thank you for, by the way, Guy, for all the super chats today. He says, this is why we are the adopted children of God, because his love of his son. God is Jesus' father, not ours. His death on the cross allows us to become his adopted children of Abraham.
Yeah. Amen.
There we go. Next one.
Sorry, I just agree. So.
A great job negotiating the Vatican II minefield Jay Dyer tried to set you up with on Tim Pool. I went from uh-oh to yes several times. Nice work.
Thanks. Thank you. I mean, like, thanks for the super chat, but thanks for acknowledging a job that's skillful. Another difference between me and other Catholics is I'll say, this is why it's important for conservatives and Catholics not to completely give up sports ball. If you play a good game against me, I will say, oh, that was a good game. I was a one-on-one basketball champ, literally whole basketball camps. I would play one-on-one. We, have trophies from being a one-on-one player back when I was younger. And if you have an off day and you're shooting shots and they're just not falling and your buddy beats you, it's objective. The scoreboard's right up there. You can check it. This happened with my buddy Scott when he was in town. I've beaten this younger man 30 to 35 times one-on-one. He'd only beaten me once before this last visit, and he beat me 3 times. And I'm getting old also, but it was really hard for me. But I don't lie. I say, man, this was hard for me. was I depressed? I was like, I'm worthless.
Yeah, you came inside. I was reading. You came inside and you sat down next to me, and you were just like, oh. And I was like, what happened? You were genuinely sad.
Well, it's middle-aged, whole other topic. You're good at something. Basketball is one of the things I was best at. Better maybe even than a philosopher for a regular size 6-foot white guy. And you just get to middle age and you watch these things, vanish like Kaiser Soze. And it's sad. It's hard. And it's also hard not to being able to rely on your body as a middle-aged person the way you did if you were an athlete when you're younger. And, but I do respect, I went back and I found my friend who was staying with us with his wife and kids for several weeks before we left for Florida. And I just said, hey, good game. It's hard to say, but you say it. I'll tell you when I had a good game or a bad game. And I appreciate when people are like, yeah, that was good. I wasn't expecting it to be a Vatican II thing, but I'm glad to have been blessed by God with recall. I knew it was Bellarmine. I knew it was one of the early popes, in the 10s or 11s. Pope Gregory VII. I knew it was in Pius X's catechism. So, I'm like, look, this is a sense reference dichotomy illustration really, really classically. And it's good. So, yeah, I thought I did well, particularly with how much my friend Jay Dyer was interrupting me and how much that stupid Protestant was trying to ride Jay's coattails. That was just very annoying and anyone could see. So thanks for
And I'm really sad.
Thanks for credit.
I'm really sad too because there was some sound gating going on because obviously it's a really high-end studio. So when you would talk over somebody or somebody talk over you, it would edit it out. But it's really a shame that like when you took him to task for blaspheming, how many times the Protestant said like that
kept saying OMG like a little petulant girl, and I started saying it regularly. But I know I at least said it into the mic once, and then I was looking for it. I was like, stop blaspheming, dude. And everyone knows, cussing, saying poo-poo in the most uncouth way. I've always said, St. Paul says this in the Bible, it's not a sin to say poo-poo in the less scientific way, the S word or whatever. But taking the Lord's name in vain is basically always a mortal sin. And I never tangle with that. Never. We never say JC or OMG. Me and Jay were talking about this at lunch. Yeah. He's like, what's the deal? I mean, and Jay cusses like I do, like kind of a lot in private life. Maybe it's an impolite habit, but it's not immoral. And certainly not a sin. And he's like, but dude, what is with all? I was like, did you hear this guy? I can't remember if he heard it or not, but he was like, was he saying OMG or JC? He did so many times. I know. And Jay was asking, he's like, yeah, I don't get it, man. I'll never get it. Some of my favorite shows, I don't care if they say the F word or whatever, but if they say JC and OMG, it just makes your ears want to bleed. And anyway, Jay agreed with me, whether he heard it. Jay's wife, by the way, totally lovely. Really enjoyed spending time with her after the debate. She was great. And the kids loved her too. She kept buying them like cookies and Every time
Instant hit.
it's a sweet lady. They're a kind couple. Yeah, not what you're seeing up there when he kept interrupting, which was being annoying. But I mean, he apologized afterward, and yeah, nice lady and a nice man, and I like them.
Guy has sent in a few more super chats, so thank you. He said, Jesus took pity on us when he became man, and he judged us, and he had mercy, and those that rejected him crucified him, and he decided to die on the cross when he could have become king. Then he says, God's love for Mary, God allowed her to give his son a chance to choose. She served as God's instrument and allowed Jesus to have a choice, and he chose for us to be with him his way. Amen. So Tim, are you going to continue this on
yeah, let's go
locals?
over to locals. I would say, please, I pledge to be drastically more active on locals, 50 times more active. We need locals supporters. If you become one today, you will get a free class of your choice, pre-recorded class of your choice. If you can do a $10 or $20 monthly, you got to understand, you know, I have all this knowledge, but you, the local supporter, are what make the show possible. You guys say you want people with integrity that will not bend just because a job threatens you. Well, I got fired from my job, theology department chair, longtime teacher. A platform like Patreon threatens you. They put a better to his money too. Said you can take this anti-LMNOPQ stuff down, and you can keep all your money and all your support, or you cannot. And I said, you know, never mind. I don't need it. I didn't think once, but I didn't recover all those. And on locals, I need to build it up that much, or else the show can't go on. So you guys, the local supporters, are the ones that make it happen. If you have $10 or $20 and you're a regular viewer of the show, please consider being a $10 or $20 per month local supporter. I'm
going to put that link to this, the locals exclusive content up in probably about 15, 20 minutes. We're going to film it right now.
Yeah.
And if you're a local subscriber, you can go ahead and email us, Timothy J. Gordon at timothyjgordon.com. If you have anything you want Tim to address specifically in that video, I'm going to be checking it right now. And also sign up for that book club.
Summer book club, $60, 6 weeks, beginning Monday the 14th. 6 chapters of Case for Patriarchy. I don't think I've ever done a book club on, or a class/book club on Case for Patriarchy. I've done all my other books. That's what we were checking. If that turns out to be wrong and we're forgetting, then whatever. But I don't think I've ever done that one. And it's in some ways my most influential book. Also, if you want private tutoring and and you have an engine that revs high in deep perennial philosophy theology, contact me at timothyjgordon at timothyjgordon.com. But really, the main way to support the show is I'm going to be much more active on locals, and we're going over right now the way we will after every show. So go to rulesforretrogrades.locals.com, become a local supporter today. If you do it today, you will get a free class, which is like $100.
And there's a bunch of them. I'm scrolling through them right now. These are all the classes on here. So we have a lot of classes on our site. So you can pick one of them.
God bless you guys. And going to be a lot of shows this week because I missed, and I was kind of felt behind the ball being on vacation. So we're going to do extra shows this week. God bless. Desvol.